You're ready? Okay.
Hey Kurt, are we ready?
Yes.
Awesome, good to see you.
Oh, sorry, I forgot I have to mute my,
Oh, is that you? Okay.
yeah, it's my,
Anybody hear an echo still? No, it's gone.
does anybody else have? Okay, all right, let's try again.
There is a slight echo there.
There is. Okay.
Hello?
It's coming from that TV.
You are correct, and the echo's about to go away. I hate being on TV. I'll see you guys later.
Same.
We'll never forget you.
Okay.
All right. Okay, good evening. And we are here at Thursday, May 4th at the Affordable Housing Advisory Board. Good evening. First thing we will do is we will call to order. If you're here, indicate so by saying hey. Monty Sokop.
Here.
Hi, Monty. Mark Bueller.
Hey.
Donovan Dillon. No, Donovan. Mario Fierro.
Here.
Barry McMurphy.
Here.
Faith Lopez.
Here.
Hi, Faith. I see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we are in quorum. And go forward. All right, so next item on our agenda is to receive the hybrid meeting and public comment guidelines. Leah, will you let us through that, please?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Please silence your cell phones to minimize distractions during the meeting. The primary format for accessing and participating in this meeting is in person at City Hall. Virtual access to view or participate in the meeting cannot be guaranteed. The chat function will not be monitored. Board members and participating staff joining via Zoom are asked to leave their cameras on and remain unmuted during board discussion to allow for full participation. Public comment will be allowed. When the chair calls for public comment, please approach the podium to indicate you wish to speak. Please state your name before speaking. Virtual participants should use the raise hand function to indicate they wish to speak. Once your name is called, you will be unmuted and you may turn your camera on to provide your comments. The city reserves the right to turn videos off or mute participants. General public comment will be accepted at the end of the meeting. All comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Leah. Okay, and so moving on, next to our agenda, item B is to approve the minutes from the meeting in April 9th. Can I get a motion to approve?
We move to approve April 9th, 2026 minutes.
Excellent, thank you, Mariel. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, that's first and seconded by Mark and Mariel. We're going to go through the roll call again. Please indicate yes or no when I call your name. Monty Sokop,
Yes.
Mark Bueller,
Yes.
Donovan Dillon. Donovan's not here. Mariel Fierro,
Yes.
Barry McMurphy,
Yes.
and Faith Lopez.
Yes.
And Christina Gentry. I was also, I'll say yay, I watched the video. So yes, we have the motion is approved. And moving forward to C on our agenda item number 1 is to receive a presentation on low-income housing tax credits from Deanne Engstrom, Director of Housing at Kansas Housing Resources Corporation. Good evening.
Good. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all for inviting me here this evening. I'm Deanne Engstrom. I'm the Director of Housing Development with Kansas Housing Resources Corporation. And I'm joined with my coworker as well, Terry Bradshaw. She is the Housing Development Manager, and we are going to present an oversight of the program we administer called Low Income Housing Tax Credits, but we're also going to give you an overview about what we do day in and day out at Kansas Housing Resources Corporation. So the agenda for this presentation, I will again tell you about Kansas Housing Resources Corporation, which I'll in return refer to as KHRC for the rest of this presentation. I'll give you a background on the programs that we administer, the housing needs across the state of Kansas, how we ramped up really production in 2022 from some pretty significant state legislature funding. We'll also talk about our progress to date with all of that funding that came from 2022, and let you know where LIHTC and low-income housing really fits into that funding mixture. I will provide a pretty significant update of what happened in our 2025 state legislature, and how that impacted our state programs, particularly how that relates with low-income housing tax credits. And then I will specifically highlight Lawrence investments and some open construction projects that we have going on right now, right here in your community. So here at KHRC, we administer a wide variety of programs. So while we might not directly provide money or services to a direct beneficiary, we do that through different jurisdictions. And that can be through our homeless services, through our emergency solutions grant. We have a pretty robust community solutions department that administers our community service block grant and tenant-based rental assistance. I'm going to skip over housing development for a second because we're going to spend the majority of this presentation on housing development, so I will come through and highlight all those programs that you see right there on your screen. We also promote home ownership programs, so this can be through our first-time home buyer program. We also have a home loan guarantee for rural Kansans program, and we help manufacture housing licenses. We also have a pretty significant weatherization assistance team, and to oversee and administer what we do day in, day out, and make sure we are meeting the regulations and all the rules, we have a healthy compliance department. So our compliance department oversees all of our low-income housing tax projects, our moderate income housing tax projects after they finish their construction period and enter what we in return call their compliance or affordability period. And we also have a full Section 8 contract administration department. So at KHRC, we are governed by a board of directors. Those are volunteer board members from all across the state that are appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate. So KHRC is a designated housing finance agency to administer the federal housing programs, again, for the state of Kansas. It's important to know that, especially as we're talking about low-income housing tax credits today, that we leverage both federal resources and state resources. So you'll often hear me talking about both sides as we go into the makeup of these projects today. And on top of that, we need to make sure all the resources that we receive, both federal and state, we make sure that we provide a wide diversification and disperse those across the state evenly. We are monitored by audited financial statements. We have annual legislative reports that we provide every single year. Those are often sent to the legislature in December and in January. We are very transparent in all of our awards and the projects that we award through all of these resources. They are out on our website. And if chosen through the legislative, post-audit, we have been selected a couple of times for a post-audit review, and those findings are posted out on LPA's website. So before we talk about what the low-income housing tax credit project or program looks like today, I think it's important that we hop back a couple years ago. So in 2021, KHRC with Department of Commerce engaged in a statewide housing study. And I don't think that it was any big secret that the housing study said, hey, you guys have a shortage of housing units in the state of Kansas. But what it did tell us is that the housing shortage was for all income types. That is anywhere from low to just market rate homes and market rate apartment complexes or apartment units as well. But what the housing study also said is, hey, you kind of have this missing middle. We had often referred to as workforce housing, or people that made too much money to be able to qualify for a low income, but they, especially coming out of COVID, they didn't make enough to be able to afford a market rate home or rental unit. So it was projected through this housing study that we need, I didn't mean to say that past tense because it's still a need today, 3,800 to 4,800 homes. And this was really a staggering number that came out of rural communities alone. So that doesn't even include the number of units that we need in Lawrence, in Topeka, in Wichita, in Kansas City, in Johnson County. We're just talking about the rural areas. So you can obviously tell once we add the metro areas on top of that, the figures were quite staggering. And so that was just to also almost bring us up even to what we need today. That doesn't even talk about the homes and the units that are needed to bring us forward with job opportunities and future population growths. So the Kansas legislature really took a hard look at this housing study, and it was a pretty historic session in 2022. In 2022, they created 2 new tax credits. They created the Kansas Affordable Housing Tax Credit, and I'm going to use a lot of acronyms, and so I'll try to make sure I'm referring back to that to not provide or create any confusion. But those are called the Kansas KHRCs. And so as the presentation moves forward this evening, I'm gonna refer to that as the state LIHTC, because I think it'll make sense once we see how that pairs together with the federal LIHTC. Throughout the 2022 session, it also created the second tax credit, which is the Kansas Housing Investor Tax Credit, or KHITC. We paired that tax credit with some of our moderate income housing development, and it's not paired with the low income housing tax credit, but I think it's important to mention here for this presentation. And then in 2022, as I was talking about finding through this study of this missing middle workforce group that needed homes, the legislature funded an additional $62 million in moderate income housing. So part of that came from the state of Kansas, the State General Fund, but part of it also came from the American Rescue Plan, or ARPA. And then in 2023 and 2024, the legislature continued to see some of this momentum that we had in creating additional housing, which in return created a revolving loan fund, and we call that an RLF. Today, that fund has a little over $30 million, of which we are loaning out for moderate income housing projects. And then in 2024, the legislature funded moderate income housing again with another $20 million. So to date, we've awarded all of the moderate income housing grant money that we have available to us. In 2025, they did not fund it, but we are pretty hopeful and happy to see that we saw $8 million in this year's session for moderate income housing. So what Terry and I work on day in and day out is really these programs that you see here on this program overview sheet. If I can just jump to the 3 at the very bottom, I mentioned the new tax credit that formed in 2022, the KHITCs, as well as the moderate income housing grant and a revolving loan fund. I will go ahead and just briefly highlight and and then I'll move on from it. But the moderate income housing grant is to a city or a county with a population of 60,000 or less. And so while that may not fit, of course, in the city of Lawrence, it does fit in Douglas County. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned it tonight. Now, the revolving loan fund, however, it can be paired with a project here in the city of Lawrence. So although we primarily see it paired with rural projects, the statute does allow us to use the revolving loan fund with a county or a city greater than 60,000. So then I'll hop back up to the top, and these are the four programs that we administer on our low-income housing development team. And I will start with the low-income housing tax credits because it's sort of the top, and everything kind of either pairs with it or adds to it as we go down. So the low-income housing tax credits typically fit an income range of 20% to 80% area median income. And if okay, I'll throw another acronym out for this evening during our presentation. I'll refer to area median income as AMI for the rest of the presentation. Then we have the Kansas Affordable Housing Tax Credit. Again, that was a new tax credit that was created from the 2022 legislative session that was allowed to be paired with the low-income housing tax credit. So in essence, for every dollar or every low-income housing tax credit, we matched it with a Kansas Affordable Housing Tax Credit. So for every federal LIHTC, we had a state LIHTC. Now, as we move through 23, 24, and then eventually 25, I will get to why that state LIHTC has made such a pivotal difference in the production in our low-income housing development across the state. Then with a certain part of our low-income housing developments, we're able to pair HUD resources with them. And those two HUD resources may be similar to what you guys administer here too. We have home funds and we have National Housing Trust funds, not to say funds twice. But those are able to be paired with these projects to help bridge some of the financing gaps and also pass along some deeper affordability to these projects. So that is an overview of what we administer in housing development. So as I mentioned, with the influx of funding from the 2022 session, we created some pretty significant momentum. We were able to develop and add 9,681 new homes since 2022. As you can see in the sort of navy color, a great deal of those homes were funded with that state LIHTC or the KHRC. So over 6,600 new homes were created because we were able to pair that state LIHTC with our federal LIHTC resource. In addition, we were able to create another 1,500 homes with that second new tax credit that was created in 2022, the KHITCs. 1,300 new homes with the influx of MIH or moderate income housing dollars that we received since 2022. And so far, 172 new homes from our revolving loan fund. So for the purpose of this presentation, I think we're going to spend a great deal of our time in low-income housing tax credit, and even sometimes I've been catching myself saying LIHTC. So for the rest of this presentation, I'll say LIHTC if that's all right with all of you guys. It's a little bit shorter than saying that all out. So this is obviously our biggest resource and most important resource in creating affordable housing across Kansas. So this was created in 1986 through the Tax Reform Act. It gives states and local allocating agencies billions of dollars annually to use credits for the acquisition, rehab, conversion, or new construction of rental housing. And this is specifically targeted to lower income households. So again, when we're referring to lower income households this evening, we're really referring to that 20% to that 80% AMI. So for the state of Kansas, that's us. That's Kansas Housing Resources Corporation, who administers the LIHTC program. So the LIHTC program gives investors a dollar for dollar reduction in their federal tax liability. And just similar to the state LIHTC, it's the same tax liability just at the state of Kansas level. Those tax dollars, or their reduction in their federal tax liability, then in return returns equity to the project. That equity to the project is in return then be able to be passed on to the end user or the end tenant. This is what drives affordability and creates affordability to make these tenants be able to even afford a unit. Without these tax credits, it would be nearly impossible to pass along this much affordability. So as the investor gets or is awarded their federal or state LIHTC, they in return receive those credits annually for 10 years. So they receive an allocation, again, once every year for a span of 10 years. So these projects must meet a eligibility or compliance or affordability period for 30 years here in Kansas after the project completion. So these projects, these owners have to keep these units restricted and available to low-income tenants based off what we call a land use restriction agreement, what they have applied for and awarded for. And then after 30 years, that land use restriction agreement, or we refer to it as a LURA, can be released and the property is back to its owner. So there are two types of low-income housing tax credits when we're talking about different ones tonight, and we'll show you examples of both. We have 4% tax credits and we have 9% tax credits. It's not exact, but a more simplistic way to look at this is for 4% tax credits. Generally, those tax credits are providing about 30% subsidy into the project capital stack. So when we talk about capital stack, a project has a certain cost associated with it. You know, it takes millions of dollars to be able to put a low-income housing tax credit project together. Then you have your sources. So the constant challenge is trying to make the sources and the use, the construction, equal. And so when we're looking at these tax credits, the 4% and the 9%, the 4% is providing about 30% of that capital stack. The 4% can be used for existing acquisition of existing buildings, rehab, new construction. We're seeing a lot of them paired with historical tax credits as well. And these are financed primarily by private activity bonds. These are tax-exempt bonds, or PABs, that help make these projects fully work. Then the second one is the 9% tax credit. And so more or less, this provides about 70% subsidy to the project. I put a little asterisk there because, again, we have this state LIHTC that we're adding to the capital stack. So that really that 70% is probably just a little bit higher when you add in that state LIHTC. This is for generally the acquisition of existing buildings with the rehab and for new construction as well. And so as I mentioned, again, for 10 years, these tax credits can be claimed. And for our HUD resources, which is Home and National Housing Trust Fund, we directly pair those or add additional financing gaps through our 9% projects. We don't pair them with our 4%, 9% only.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I did a little bit of research and talked a little bit about the shift. And what I pulled up, and I'm going to ask you if this is a clarifying, if this can make more sense if you explain it further to me, but in 2026, it started that the threshold for 4% credits is permanently lowered from 50 to 25% of the project's costs being financed by tax-exempt bonds. It makes it easier to qualify for this. Could you explain that further? I mean, because I'm writing these notes down and I'm thinking about how I can explain that in layman's terms.
Sure.
What do you mean when I say that?
Yeah, so I want to explain it in a way that makes sense for the state of Kansas. For 4% projects in that bond cap, Kansas doesn't even come close to our bond cap. So when it was 50%, states that were running against their bond cap were having to issue private activity bonds potentially up to 50% of that cost. And so through the One Big Beautiful Bill, did I say that right? Did I get the acronym right? Act, that was reduced from 50% to 25%. And what this did is it helped states that were forcing their bond cap to reduce the amount of private activity bonds that went to a project from 50% to 25%. Again, in Kansas, we don't face that, so we're allowing developers to more or less use the bonds that they need.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And since we're asking questions, 4% of what? And 9% of what?
Basically, more or less, it would be 4% of the total project cost or 9% of the total project cost.
Yeah, the eligible basis.
Yeah.
It's 4% of the eligible basis. Not all costs are eligible in the project to receive credit, and so it's 4% of the eligible basis.
So let's use a house for simplicity, even though a house has a piece of ground, it's vacant right now in my example, and the improvements. So the land was $50,000, the house was $100,000, we have a $150,000 project. So our calculation, do all those costs I described qualify?
No, the land
The land, not
does
the
not
lands.
qualify.
Okay.
It's not an eligible basis. And then there would be, if your actually hard costs are 100,000, then yes, that would all qualify as an eligible basis.
Okay, thank you.
So you get 4.
For folks on Zoom, can we just make sure we're speaking into the mics? That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm like walking.
On me, sorry.
I'm walking all over the place.
So, Deanne, when you're talking those percentages, that's over 10 years.
10 years. Mm-hmm.
9%
Yeah.
annually over 10 years.
Okay, so when we talk about 30% of the project and 70% of the project, some people might think, well, that's all of the project. And it's not.
No. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah, please proceed.
Okay, sorry. I've been like kind of walking all over. Okay, so through our LIHTC program, it is administered basically through a qualified allocation plan. And again, I'm going to throw out another acronym. We call this the QAP. The QAP, both Terry and I brought ours today just in case you guys kind of threw us any curveballs with some tough questions. But it governs how we administer our LIHTC program every single year. And so what I did here today, I wanted to show you where exactly we're at in our 2026 plan, and I wanted to show you where we're at in our 2027 plan. So right now in our 2026 QAP, 4% projects, they're open. So a developer can submit their application at any time, and we will begin reviewing it. Our 9% projects, tomorrow is a big day. So tomorrow, all the full applications for our 9% round are due. Then we will be diligently reviewing all of those projects and make our awards for 9% on July 31st. The 2027 QAP, we've already started. Internally, we're reviewing where we can make some efficiencies or improvements, and we will start to prepare or have already prepared a draft. We will release that draft with proposed changes out to the public As that release comes out to the public, it's an open opportunity. We will host a hearing, probably through Zoom in August. And anybody, the full public, can make comments. They can either make it during that public hearing that we host virtually, or they can submit those comments to us in writing. And we take all of those comments and that feedback, we review them all and respond accordingly. And if needed, make adjustments. We will then prepare our final draft for it to be approved by not only our KHRC and Loans and Grants Committee, but it will be sent to the governor for her final approval. And that will, in return, create the 2027 QAP that will live for another year. And just in case it is asked, the 9% dates, although they're obviously not going to be the same, that timeline that you see right there in 2026 will look pretty similar for the most part in 2027, in case you are talking to developers about submitting next year. So there are many parts of the qualified allocation plan that both Terry and I could talk about tonight, but we just wanted to make sure that we highlighted a couple. And although this slide is titled Income and Rents, I wanted to make sure that I clarify that we're specifically talking about federal and state set-asides, about how these projects, particularly new construction projects, apply and how they have to meet AMI. So AMI, again, area median income, shows both the maximum housing expense and the household income at move-in or occupied by. So there's primarily three types. There is the average income. This is at least 40% of the units are both rent restricted and are occupied by tenants whose income is less than or equal to the unit's designation. That units are designated in increments of 10%. So basically, let me help kind of sum that up. You take 40% of the units and you'll take their AMI from 20% to 80%. So 20% AMI, 30% AMI, 40% AMI, 50%, and you average those all together. And then that's what in return creates average income. So our state limit set aside for that applies to the city of Lawrence is 54%. So the average income for that project in Lawrence would be 54%. Now, there's also the 20/50 set aside and the 40/60 set aside. So in the 20/50, at least 20% of the units must be rented to tenants who earn 50% or less of the AMI, area median income. And then 40/60, at least 40% of the property's units are to be rented to tenants who earn 60% or less of AMI. So again, I just wanted to highlight those three particular set-asides when we're talking about income on these properties.
I have another question.
Yes.
We're talking about it, and I know that we're probably going to have more, but as we talk about income and rents, what are the restrictions for those who are LIHTC projects? For example, can those LIHTC project apartments, rentals be Airbnb'd or rented out at any point? I'm just asking those specifically because we understand our community and the things going on here during the summertime. Is there a restriction for those being rented out for properties that are short-term rentals?
No. So the exact affordable rentals are identified through that land use restriction agreement, and that is filed, and those units have to remain affordability. Now, I know that there are some projects that are outside the LIHTC area of the building that may be short-term rentals or even commercial spaces, and those, again, they fall outside of the LIHTC LURA.
Thank you.
Fact check.
So what I heard, I'm going to repeat back what I just heard you say. A LIHTC project, the whole building may not be part of the program. You may have market rate product in the same building that these rules don't apply to. You're going to have mixed use, if you will.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
There are examples here in Lawrence, yeah.
Yeah, we're,
Can you easily tell us what those incomes mean? Like the 54% is, what is that? Is it 20,000 a year? Is it 70?
I did bring my little cheat
You
sheet.
pick your family size.
Mark, could you pull your mic toward you, please?
Yeah, oh,
Sure,
me.
sorry.
behave.
We want to hear you.
Face people when I talk to them.
Yeah. So for example, 40%, well, let me instead use 50% AMI for a household size of 1. That's $38,650 a year. Or for a household size of 2, that's $44,200 a year.
Okay.
And that's right in the middle of 50%.
Thank you.
Okay, yep. Okay, another piece of the qualified allocation plan that we wanted to make sure that we highlight for you guys specifically tonight is the fee waivers. Again, there's multiple sections of the QAP that we could talk about, but again, we felt like these were most applicable to you and maybe what you all see the most. So a local government it has either waived or can waive, or both, of what have been impact, utility, or other fees. So inside an application, an applicant can get points for previous fee waiver support. So what that previous fee waiver support would look like here in Lawrence would be at least 40,000 of fee waivers were provided to the project, or 100% of all the government fees. Then a project can get credit or points for current fee waivers. And so I just wanted to make sure that that was, it's often like a point of questions. So there's previous fee waiver support, and then there's current application fee waiver support. And you can see that identified through the unit counts in that chart. But we also want to reiterate that we made this change last year in the 2025 QAP, or actually this year in the 2026 QAP, that if a local government commits to waive 100% of the combined fees, the applicant will receive 10 points for that.
I have another question.
Yeah.
It's because it's really kind of relevant. The unit count, do those have to be affordable or marked as affordable housing units, or can that be the entire unit of the entire apartment?
Yeah, the affordable units. Uh-huh.
So 0 to 30 can only receive 5 points?
At 20,000.
20,000.
Uh-huh.
10 points, 40,000.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, the numbers of units, I was just curious.
Yeah.
about. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Madam Chairman, for sake of understanding, could we use the $80,000 question we had a few months ago and have everybody explain what's going on there?
I think that we may have spent quite a bit of time on that particular issue. I mean, I would entertain that with the board if you'd like to.
Madam Chair, I would,
like to say.
Madam Chair, I would also say we have an ordinance restricting fee waivers.
That's what I want to get at.
So we don't have the ability to technically do this without
And the city doesn't.
permission from KHRC.
Okay.
If I could just,
That does it, thanks. I just want to make sure that what we were talking about was something that.
can I clarify that in speaking with KHRC, that they agreed to points?
Yeah. No, it's,
That either way.
there's been a lot of, yeah. No, it's,
That either way.
there's been a lot of questions.
That has nothing to do with you all.
That's why I included it, because there are questions usually.
And then just to confirm, so at $80,000, so for a unit count of 0 to 30 affordable units, that project could receive the 10 points at $40,000
Right,
fee waiver,
correct.
not 80,000.
Right. Mhm.
Right, yeah.
Okay. The other area that may be relevant for your guys' conversations and meetings is below market loans and support. So an applicant can demonstrate this and other financial support when they're applying and showing the makeup of the sources of their project. These are examples. This may include a home loan. It may include a CDBG or a community development block grant. It could include Federal Home Loan Bank's Affordable Housing Program, or AHP. That's a kind of a hot topic right now because their application is getting ready to open July 1st, so I thought I'd mention that. It can include other resources, other local jurisdiction resources, public housing authority resources, and then just general other grants from other just community development organizations, nonprofit organizations, or charitable organizations. Okay, we want to
I
clarify.
want to make a clarification on that because, and I looked in the QAP, that table that was provided in that last fee schedule, that's based on total project units.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
not affordable units.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
Huh,
Thanks for clearing that.
unfortunately.
Yeah, okay, did you get bumped up to 80? Is that what you were talking about? Okay, so why, overall, why you guys meet, why your committee and advisory board meets, what we do and day out, is because there's a huge risk with affordability, not here in Kansas, but everywhere. Since really COVID, we've seen pretty significant rising construction costs. The interest rate environment's been pretty volatile lately. They had really popped up and then they came down a smidge, but I heard they're going back up again. We just don't have the supply. We talked about that 3,800 to that 4,800 homes that we need every year. We just have not been able to get to that kind of supply. Another challenge that we see, whether it's rural or urban, is just aging housing stock. We're seeing individuals age in place or age in their home, and this in return just it doesn't free up maybe a home for a new family to come to Lawrence. But what also it does is creates this, somebody's aging in their home, they may be on a fixed income, so they don't have maybe the affordability or the other disposable income to be able to fix it up too. So we're really seeing just the existing housing stock start to dilapidate. We have high infrastructure costs just to put in developments. Housing costs continue to way outpace wages. And then, as we've talked about several times tonight, the capital stack or the financing gaps is one of the bigger challenges of how developers can continue to pass along affordability to the tenants. So why that's so significantly important is to now kind of combine all of the stories that you've heard so far. So we had this pretty significant legislative session in 2022, and now here comes 2025. So the state legislature met. It, in return, passed a $25 million cap on the state LIHTC. So as we've been talking about tonight, how that state LIHTC pairs with the federal has been able to create its pretty significant momentum in housing development. We were then faced last year with a $25 million cap. And then now, in this year, in 2026, we have lost that state LIHTC with 4% projects. Now only that state LIHTC can be paired with 9% projects, and it's at an $8.8 million cap. So this year, 2026, we had an $8.8 million cap, 27, and then in 2028, and then the program will sunset. So with that loss of even now the cap and the loss of that state LIHTC, I'll show you here in a second how that is slowed production. That impact can be seen here in this chart. So again, the state LIHTC passed in 2022. So we really saw it start to, we could use it in 2023. In 2023, we really ramped up with 22 new 100 homes, and 24, 2,600 new homes. And then you can see in 2025, that dropped to 1,600 new homes, again, because we were faced with this $25 million cap. We weren't able to approve as many applications with that state LIHTC. Now, okay, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Just to clarify, by homes, do you mean units or
Units,
buildings?
Yeah.
Okay.
At KHRC, we often refer to homes as
Okay,
units. Yeah.
you.
So thank you. That's good. Even when I first started at KHRC, I'm like, can I clarify? Now, in what's important when we talk about leveraging those private activity bonds, again, this is 4% projects, not 9. These are 4% projects. So before the state LIHTC, we had 1 in 2022. Then we had really good momentum. We had 12, then 14, and now in 2025 we had 8, again because of that $25 million cap. And I can say tonight and here in 2026 we have not had any 4% applications without that state LIHTC.
So we're at 0.
So what's important also when we're talking about these LIHTC projects or any kind of, and it's not just LIHTC, any kind of housing development project, we're also talking about other resources outside these credits, outside soft loans. There's many external resources that we see paired in almost all of the applications. This is purely just a list that we see day in, day out. A lot of NRPs, a lot of RHIDs, a lot of IRBs. I mentioned affordable housing program at Federal Home Loan Bank, some USDA loans. And I could actually make probably a couple more slides of external resources just because it takes it takes multiple resources again to be able to pass along affordability for developments.
Madam Chair, there was, I don't know, what was that, 10 or 12 lists of,
Oh,
are they all unique? I mean,
yeah. Yes, those are all separate developments.
okay, why can't we do all that in one program?
Government.
Doesn't work out. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so this is kind of our bragging slide. This is what we've been able to do across Kansas with all of our resources since 2022. And again, this includes all of our housing development programs. So we got some fun ones here in Lawrence. I think a lot of us were just there last Friday, I think is when we were there, at New Hampshire Lofts. We helped celebrate the creation of 49 affordable units for ages 55 and older there at New Hampshire Lofts. And that project also created deeper affordability units. A couple other projects that we have going on in construction right now here in Lawrence. We have Peaks of Lawrence, which is going to create 34 affordable units or 42 total units. This is also 55 and older.
Where's that location?
Do
They call it?
award other LIHTC projects.
Southwest 6th.
Yeah, it's on 6th Street. There was a single
Oh, yeah,
family
yeah.
frame house there for
Yes.
forever and ever.
Oh, we didn't fund that though, did we?
The city provided IRBs,
IRBs.
but they did not
award
request
other
just those.
LIHTC projects,
Yeah, there's been several
Lawrence.
LIHTC
Yeah, no,
projects
I-
that haven't needed.
Right.
not just
No, I knew that. I just wasn't aware of this.
Yeah.
We've got other LIHTC projects in Lawrence.
wild.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah.
So 7-Eleven New Hampshire was approved for 4%, right? So that was one of the last, wasn't it?
And it's moved to compliance. Or no, it's,
No, it hasn't started.
or 7-Eleven hasn't?
7-Eleven
Okay.
is the one downtown.
Okay, sorry, yeah, I misspoke.
Is that going to be a project? Because
Is that the Cohen Eschery project?
I didn't, okay,
we've
that's why I was
gotten all
like,
kinds of
okay.
calls.
Sorry, I recognize the names.
Yeah, I know.
So it's going to happen.
With no elevator.
It is
It's got one elevator.
credit for the tax credits anyway.
We just didn't give them money.
A lot of moving parts between now and then. But
So, to your knowledge, has the city concurred with the granting of the land?
The city has not made any decisions about that.
Thank you.
We were having a private discussion, but please.
No,
Continue in a larger.
I'll just wait for you to look. It's all totally
You gotta
okay.
find out what's going on around.
Yeah, just have to ask. But speaking of 4% projects, here's a couple of 4% ones for you. There's Floret Hill. This was going to create 121.
Maybe.
And 3100 Michigan Apartments, which is a big one, 250.
There's another one that the city provided tax incentives, but not in trust funds.
IRBs.
Yeah. And then we have a great deal of projects too that are with our compliance team that are finished construction as well here in Lawrence. But so that wraps up what I have for you guys all tonight. I put all of our contact information for myself and Terry here. Please feel free to reach out to us anytime. That's what we're here for.
Dan,
Yeah, thank you so much.
could you talk just briefly about the impact of credit pricing? Or maybe Terry,
Yeah, let me invite Terry up. She'll have a better.
just how that works.
Actually, they just started talking about, I was just in an NCSHA meeting today that Deanne wasn't able to go to, where they talked about current pricing for our tax credits and how what they're seeing across the country is a bell bar, where everything, the higher prices are going to, of course, the east and west coast, and everything in the middle right now. So when Deanne talked about the 30% or the 70% going into these projects, that varies greatly depending on what the credit pricing is, which is what Barry's is talking about. So that $1 in tax credit that syndicator is purchasing, that they get to apply to $1 of taxes that they owe, right? They don't pay $1 for that tax credit. Right now, we're hoping that that's going to be around somewhere between 70 and 75 cents is what we're looking at this year for our federal credit. They're seeing maybe in the 80s, 80, 85 out farther, or in the, and you know about this from being in banking, the is it CRA?
CRA credit.
The CRA credit. So, or depending on if, the area needs that. But in general, so, you talked about the eligible basis and the eligible costs. They're only getting 70 cents back for every, one of those dollars of eligible basis over 10 years, right? I mean, that's what that means. So, and the state credit is around 50, 55 on the dollar.
So in the marketplace where, let's say we all have money, we buy those tax credits, we're gonna pay we're gonna pay 50 cents in your example for the tax credit that's worth $1.
In tax credit.
To the state, to your state.
So that's a good deal for the investor, right?
It is, but there's other factors that the investors are looking at too. Their rate of return. I mean, there's other things that those investors are looking at, because those are actually normally groups
Sure.
of investors. It can occasionally, we'll have a single investor
Right.
on a project, but there's other factors that they're looking at too. Also, time, right? It's 10 years. Sometimes it's 11, depending on when the credit is placed in when they actually start claiming the credit. So there's other factors.
So is the 70 cents down from what it's been in the past? Because I've seen
Yes.
people getting 90 cents
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
tax
it's
credit
down.
for
and
historic tax credits.
It's weak because of two things that happen, and you
Okay.
talked about the 25% test now on the private activity bonds. As Dan mentioned, that opened up additional private activity bonds for certain states, where they can award more projects with more credits and still, not exceed their volume cap, right? But at the same point, they're also, putting out more credits. So the market has this flood of credit right now, and also just other economic factors in our economy right now are causing this to be very soft. They're hoping in a couple of years that it firms back up from this big change that's been made. And now they talked today about that the credit pricing was low enough now that they're starting to see more insurance companies
Yeah.
That was a big one, being involved in, and because we're going to be more competitive with several other credits that are out there. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, because I don't think that they'll continue to be interested in the housing tax credit if the pricing, goes up again. I mean, they're saying that it's going to help tighten the market, but at the same point, they're going to only be willing to pay so much for those credits.
I read one thing, and I don't know if you can see this as a nationwide, and I know we've got a few more minutes, just 5 more minutes to entertain this presentation, but I wanted to see if there's an impact or an unintended impact that you've maybe seen as you do across Kansas. I read that while intending to build new housing, some of the research indicates that the announcements of the LIHTC developments can actually increase surrounding property prices in certain neighborhoods. Have you ever seen that happen as a result? Because it can alter the landscape of some neighborhoods, but has that ever been an unintended consequence that you have captured?
I don't think I have a really good
Yeah,
example
I don't think in
of that.
Kansas we've really seen that. Normally, the first reaction to neighbors is, my property value is going to go down. That's the first reaction.
I was like, that's the
that
NIMBY
neighbors
attitude.
have, is that their but a lot of times once they're better informed about the actual project that's going in or potentially going into their neighborhood, then, their actions might change. But that's more normal. And we haven't really seen property values that I'm aware of increased because of.
No.
Yeah. People don't want their property values to go up either, because
Yeah.
it increases their taxes.
Then they have to
So
pay more
It's a
taxes.
no-win conversation.
I have a
Think-
question for you all, and it's your opinion, so. My sense is the downward pressure on the funds availability, for whatever reason, they don't want this done, is that the rural markets will hurt first and longest and hardest. Am I crazy, or you have an opinion as to who will be negatively affected?
I think we all.
Yeah, I was like, everyone will be
For
negative.
our purposes in Kansas, because we are considered a rural estate, we're not going to see that difference between the only place we're going to see a difference in pricing in our area is really up in like Johnson County, the urban area. They might pay a little bit more up there for the credit, but in general, you're not going to see a difference between Wichita and Garden City or, that type of setting.
Cool.
Well, thank you very much. Unless there's any more questions, I know Faith or anyone online might have some, but I'll pause for that. Are there any questions online from anyone? Okay.
I couldn't.
No, I mean, I was wondering if the chat could be opened by chance.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Faith. That's our policy to close the chat. But if you're welcome to email me or, okay.
If we could just have the information sent, your information sent, I will have some questions, but I will just go ahead and email them to you.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation and the information and dialogue and discussion. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having us this evening.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks,
Jen.
Leah.
Really appreciate you. That was great.
Yeah,
Come
thank you
back once
guys.
a week for a year, I'll probably understand it.
Okay, yeah. You and me both, yeah. Thank you guys. Thanks, Barry.
Thank you as well, Terry.
Okay, we're going to move on and to item number C, under item C, number 2, and that is to receive a staff update on affordable housing incentive policy and to consider the mayor's recommendation to accept rolling applications for new development projects. That comes a little bit of context. So, Leah, would you have and guide us through a summary of this item and agenda for us to discuss, please?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. So just an update that the Affordable Housing Incentive Policy is planned to go back to the City Commission for consideration of approval at their June 9th meeting. That has not been formally approved for the agenda, so I was hesitant to put it on the calendar. I will keep you updated, but that is what we're planning at this time. I apologize for not bringing this last month when we were talking about the NOFO. As I was preparing to take the final draft to the commission on June 9th, in reviewing the commission discussion, I was reminded that the mayor, and there was no action taken on this, so it was not a motion, but that the mayor had recommended and suggested a preference that the city accept rolling applications for new development projects as opposed to a one-year grant application cycle, that is more responsive to how development often works, that opportunities become available, and that developers often need to jump on those, and that having a once-a-year annual application cycle may not be the most conducive for new development projects. So just wanted to gear that up for the AHAB to consider, particularly as we're going to be looking at the NOFO in the next agenda item, for you all to have discussion. You know, as I said, there was no action taken. That may happen by the city commission anyway, regardless of what decision the AHAB makes, but this is an opportunity for you all to consider the mayor's preference or recommendation.
Thank you for open to
Yeah. I know we had a conversation about that being an option, but also having a set aside amount of money for our education programs, our more reoccurring, pragmatic. Would the mayor recommend that for this year's NOFO, or are we applicable immediately?
There was no discussion about the NOFO in particular. It was in a discussion about the incentive policy and sort of a preference for moving away, again, just for new development projects, not for the repair, accessibility, modification, or education, because the incentive policy is about development.
So
specifically.
would there have to be a determination of how much we would set aside?
I would suggest that would be wise, that the AHAB consider a certain percentage, again, because not knowing how much will be within the budget authority for 2027 to allocate for the trust funds. Perhaps it's 30% or whatever the current percentage might be.
Are there developers that are requesting this? I'm curious what's driving this particular piece of conversation, because the larger deals that we look at are LIHTC deals, and they're all on the same
Schedule.
Right.
cycles and
So
Yeah, what are we running into that's a problem?
I'm happy to, I have no idea what he's talking about. Meaning, what does he mean? That they call him tonight and we review it the next month and it gets approved the following month? No, there's obviously a plan.
So again, it was in the context of the affordable housing incentive policy. So with the idea that as opposed to a developer waiting for an application to open up in July and submit it in September and then wait until December, right? That there would be a set of incentives that are available for affordable housing developments. One application could be submitted for a suite of incentives for the city to consider at any time that was the developer that worked for the developer's schedule. So that's what's driving the conversation, is in the context and the incentive policy. And yes, this has been something that developers have suggested over the course of the years.
I have another question. Would that happen before perhaps LIHTC projects would be approved? Because I think we're again running into the situation where we could potentially have somebody applying for funding who doesn't have LIHTC approval, and we would, especially hearing the presentation we just heard, potentially on a rolling basis be approving funds for projects that are not approved via LIHTC because a developer wants to utilize that as points, but then we don't have the guarantee that LIHTC project's going to go through. So I guess my concern is that we're pre-approved, just like we talked about last meeting, we're pre-approving projects ahead of guaranteed funding from from LIHTC.
When I would suggest that the board already does that on many
Yeah.
projects, the trust funds are the first funds in.
Yeah, which I don't
So-
particularly love.
Yeah, and so it wouldn't be a guarantee, isn't just because they submit the application
Right.
or receive it. It would still need to go through the review process and meet all the criteria that are set forth.
Okay.
But yeah,
There's some risk of unintended consequences.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of those being that, or one question being, does that then start shifting to first come, first serve rather than
Best
Quality of project.
project
Yeah.
submitted simultaneously with, reviewed at the same time with the same criteria and the same,
To me, it eliminates, we always have more requests, way
Yeah.
more than we can fund. So we're trying to pick the best project. It eliminates the competition because you can't look at two projects side by side
Right.
and go, this one delivers what we need and this one is good, but it's not really hitting the mark.
Yeah. I
It
guess.
eliminates that competition completely, which,
I guess my response back to this recommendation would be asking for some concrete reasoning why this would be a preferred method to what we're doing if we have somehow caused a missed opportunity for a developer. I think I would like to hear that, but if that's not the case, then I agree. I think we're just accepting and funding things on a rolling basis and not actually looking at the quality or the impact of the community, which I think is something that has been in conversation that we're trying to shift to.
yeah, one other thing we talked about, which I agree with you, but one other thing we talked about when we had all the ARPA funds was, do we set aside $500,000 in a fund that would be awarded on a rolling basis? And we try to keep, we fund that X dollars every year, and we go ahead and go through the process for everybody. But if there was an opportunity that was truly, would be missed, but for having those funds available. So you have this kind of but-for analysis like they do on most incentives. And you could make that judgment call then.
And I also believe, since the city commission's the boss anyway, that they could amend our rules and regulations to kind of emergency funding. This is really cool and groovy and important, and we want you to review it, because
Yeah.
you're going to bring it back to us no matter what you say. So
Right.
I'm happy to look at those.
The reality is they have done that.
Right. Without setting a particular precedent of a
I
rolling
mean, we did not
application.
fund, what's the one way out by K10? The big one out by K10. We didn't fund it that year.
Floor Hill? No.
Not Floor Hill,
Out south.
what's the name of it?
South. I can't think of the name of it. But anyway, we didn't fund it, and then the commission came back and funded it, I think $700,000.
Oh, yes, yeah.
I can't remember the name of it.
Sounds like 7-Eleven's.
So,
They have the capability of doing this anyway, is what I'm saying.
so I guess my question is, what is our particular charge with this agenda item? Is it to just be like, no, we're not going?
Well, I also recognize I wasn't here last meeting, and when I looked at some of the other motions carried, this sounds similar to the move to continue evaluating the AHT request by low-income housing tax projects on a case-by-case basis. The only difference here is rolling basis. And you all had voted unanimously not to support that. So this sounds very similar to something you already discussed last meeting. The point now is the mayor is making a recommendation for us to consider this, right?
It's different because the previous decision was not to evaluate it on a case-by-case basis. It was to just provide trust funds to whatever project the state identified as worthy. This would still be the city evaluating on a case-by-case basis and making a determination based on our local needs. The difference is that as opposed to a once-a-year annual cycle, it would be applications accepted on a rolling basis.
Thank
So,
you for the
yeah.
clarification.
Is there an action required here?
So if the board is not interested in changing it, then there's no action, just to consider in preparation for the third agenda item, if that was something that you all wanted to shift.
Got it.
I guess if you're asking me, I'm interested, but I don't have enough detail. You know, how much, when, how readily. You know, we have a schedule with our stuff. Not that our schedule can't change, but there are times when there's kind of not much going on, and people aren't always here, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I want to be open to what they want to do. It's ultimately their responsibility.
I fear that's why we have an application process, so we can all be here and judge projects. I mean, that's the intention of our board, is it not?
I can think of one example of when we happen to have funds in balance outside of the annual cycle, and it allowed for tenants to homeowners to acquire land and purchase Michigan 6 and Harper 7. That opportunity fell outside of our annual grant cycle. They identified a very, very good deal, and we got, you know, so that's an example of,
But it seems like an extenuating circumstance. It doesn't seem like a common.
I think it is common, it just doesn't come to us
Got it.
because it's not, we don't
Okay.
usually have funds
We don't
in
usually
balance.
accept it.
Yeah.
Funds.
I guess with to Mark's point, there's not enough information to know that that's. I would also be interested in the mayor's rationale, other than just hearing that that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So
What are the pros to considering that?
Correct.
None of us seem to.
We're not seeing.
One of them is a government that's more responsible to the citizens, which our city commission has suffered mightily over the last few years. I will say that. It is not receptive in many ways, and I can burn our time on other issues, I'm not going to, but that's the why, is that
yeah, I mean,
general.
I'm in favor of us being more responsive, but I also want to make sure that we're not, again, awarding projects just because they're coming into us and actually taking the time to review projects, if we have that ability to do so.
Yeah.
And if we're still within the timeline of LIHTC approval, I think that's the reason why we approve our projects when we do. So,
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is a combination of everyone speaking that there needs to be some more information in order to really support this recommendation that comes from our city commission and our mayor.
Yeah.
And maybe the consideration is to give us more palpable, or maybe something more as a determining action that could support this, an action that feels like, you know, once we hear all of the opportunities that are coming for LIHTC's projects and differences in dates and things to consider, and we are very developer friendly on this board as well. So I feel like maybe there is a discussion about more clarity on the recommendation from the mayor. But I don't know if we have an action, unless there's someone else who wants to create an action. I'm just connecting our conversation as such to kind of move us forward to some action.
It seems reasonable to me. I have one other thought on that. That would, if you did a process every 6 months and created a, you know, nobody's moving on development much faster than 6 month increments.
yeah.
You know, that you can't get, one probably aligns with LIHTC awards, so you get those LIHTC projects, and the other one aligns with other things, but
Yeah.
I don't know, you know, and we streamline our process. We would, to do that, we would have to streamline our process a
Yeah.
little bit, make those, but that's certainly possible.
I guess, again, I don't know what the intention of the mayor's request is.
Yeah,
And I don't want to provide any recommendations without
Yeah,
fully understanding.
no, agreed. I just,
So maybe that's, no action is the action. And we don't have to take one.
bring the mayor to our meeting.
Yeah, show up.
Let him explain himself.
Okay.
And yeah, as Mark
Okay.
said,
Yeah, we don't.
exactly. And if you all, you know, want to move forward with the annual process and they don't want to do the annual process, they want to change it, then that's what
They can do whatever they want, I guess.
They can
yeah.
instruct us.
That's correct.
Yeah,
do
Yeah.
something.
yeah, this
So-
is too vague
Yeah.
for me to respond to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you.
Faith?
Yeah, I too feel like, more structured timelines and process. 6 months sounds good, but I don't see anything in this recommendation asking us to consider those things. And so,
Would we be able to also, sorry, would we be also able to request maybe a meeting to further understand the reasoning? Just so we can have more of a conversation if there are any of those gaps or if there is any of the oversight, just so our committee is, again, like Mario said, more aware of that. But just to kind of open that door in that conversation.
Yeah, I would.
absolutely, we want to be in alignment with our city, we want to be in line with the staff, we want everyone to understand and agree and have some baseline of understanding of what
I
is
guess
asked of us.
that sounds like an action then. So, a motion on the table. Excuse me. I move that we request additional conversations with the mayor, or at least a deeper explanation of this particular proposal.
Second.
Okay. I have a
Losing
motion.
my voice.
Do we need to repeat that motion so everyone is in
Did
understanding?
everybody get that one? Okay.
I have a move to request additional conversations with the mayor or the city commission.
That's perfect.
Okay, in consideration of
Item
the
two.
recommendation. Okay.
Okay.
If we're open for discussion, I guess, it seems like there's some other kind of questions and kind of shadow issues out there. We had, 3 recommendations that have been overturned or been denied, and I would be interested in hearing more about what are you wanting from us? What kind of, is there something in the form of the recommendations, or do you want a deeper explanation of what that's about, those kind of things? And one of the commissioners actually said something to the effect of, and I don't want to quote, but that perhaps we weren't addressing what they wanted us to be addressing in terms of creation of units. And I'd like to hear more about that, and if there's an opportunity to discuss and say, how can we help you as a commission make good decisions about the use of this money?
Would it be unusual, well, it'd be unusual, we haven't done it, but they still have study sessions, right?
Yeah.
Chance we get on a study session agenda with them and come listen to what they're,
We did do that one other time,
All right.
way back.
yeah, it was before.
I guess
We got
Yeah.
new people.
I will
People that-
amend my motion to add potentially engaging in a study session with them.
Okay, so there's a new motion.
Well, it's an amendment.
Same.
Same motion.
I will second the amendment.
Leah, did you get that?
Yes.
Okay.
We all cool with that?
Are we good? Okay, so we have a motion, and we had a second. We had an amended motion, and we had a second by Monty. And so I will call the roll unless we need to understand what we're voting on and have it read to us with the amendment. But if you're ready to vote and take action, I can call the roll for that. Okay. Yay or nay if you support the action that was amended. Monty Sokup,
Yay.
Mark Bueller. Donovan Dillon is still no longer with us, or not with us today. Mariel Fierro,
Aye.
Barry McMurphy,
Aye.
Faith Lopez,
Yeah.
okay, and Christina Genter, I say yay as well, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ayes. It passes unanimously. Thank you. We look forward to more conversations and discussions with our city commission on how we can better align and make sure that we are aligned with the expectations, and so that we know what the expectations are as well for our city and our community. Thank you for that. Moving on to number 3 under agenda item C. Sorry, my computer is doing something wonky, but we are moving to review the NOFO and to provide
That's the wrong agenda. I think you have the last agenda from, yeah.
Oh,
my computer's
well,
also
where
doing
did
something.
the
Maybe just refresh it.
Oh my gosh, did I do something when I was taking minutes?
Go top right, the list of meetings, in that list.
No, it's gone.
That's very helpful, whatever that is.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't
I
know.
was like, oh, we're almost done.
That is very odd. If you want to,
Would
so
refreshing the
odd.
page
It's just gone.
make it pop up? Because it's popping up on my
I
screen.
thought, did I do something?
I got it. Well, half of it, because the city's internet
Gary
won't
has
let
a
me.
printed version.
Or try stopping the share.
You have a printed version?
We've got some tactile versions. here we can use.
Not of the agenda, of the,
Oh, yeah, I thought maybe you had a printed version.
There we go. There it is.
Got it?
That it was
She's
so
back.
weird. Holy cow. Okay, I am so sorry.
That's okay.
Don't know what happened. Okay.
Button so they can see.
Okay. All right, I apologize.
No worries at all. Thanks. We got it.
So at your command.
So I'm hopeful that we all reviewed this before the meeting, but these are the notes and timelines and dates to take into consideration as well for our trust fund notice of opportunity. And so reading through and understanding the dates, what feedback do you have for staff based upon this information that we have and the other things that are inside or links that have been attached to our agenda? Are there any notes or feedback from the board?
I think everything that we had talked about at the last meeting is pretty much covered in the NOFO, so I have no questions other than let's approve it.
Isn't there somewhere that we're not gonna entertain anything that's not permanently affordable?
No, I can go to
I
the,
read that, and I
Yeah.
thought,
Well, maybe it's good to bring up any new additions or something that would say a newer insert into this application that may need to have further clarity, but, yeah.
if it's not in there, then I'm okay, but
I think we
say we're only-
decided we weren't going to do that we were going to say it would be preferred, but we weren't going to make it a requirement.
then I'm down with how it's laid out.
can you all confirm that this is correct? Because this does say eligibility, and that, so for affordable rental housing, a minimum of 30 years, but for affordable homeownership, a minimum of 99. Is that correct, based on what? that's
Yeah,
what I
because
heard.
the majority of our projects that we get that are affordable home ownership are typically through our CLT, so that, I don't think we've had anything outside of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that looks right to
that
me.
looks correct, okay. And the AMI targeting,
Yep.
okay.
why do we have, and perhaps I should ask this, why do we have 99 years on rehab of blighted properties?
So that's for like a comp rehab of a blighted unit that, for instance, the CLT would acquire to rehab and to bring it into affordability, not an owner-occupied unit that would fall under repair. So, and
Should we clarify then that that's for home ownership? You know, it reads as if I want to.
Right.
Yeah, can we
Purchase.
just add for home ownership?
oh, I see.
An apartment and have a LIHTC project.
So, yeah, so maybe just rehabilitation of blighted property for affordable home ownership housing.
Right,
If I want to purchase a, 6-unit building that's derelict, 99 years, I'm going, no thanks, because
Okay.
it's not going to last that long.
Right.
Yeah, that feels right to put home ownership instead of affordable housing.
Does that accurately reflect what you all
Well, then-
are wanting?
then do we further dice that up and talk about single family versus duplex or fourplex?
I would question how many applications are we getting that are,
I don't know. but I
Are we,
also-
are we
Are we-
funding anything other than single-family for home ownership currently?
We have
We're
not.
not doing duplexes.
all your,
We haven't to date, but that could
not
certainly
this
come
fall.
forth, particularly with the update in the land development code. I can see that,
Oh, we
you know,
could
the
do more
duplexes, fourplexes.
owner-occupied.
Kansas, Rhode Island could have two significant
Right.
units in it.
so what would be better wording for that?
Owner occupied or,
Owner occupied?
no.
Why
For,
don't you just change it to like the one below where it's home ownership
That, yeah,
housing?
that was my recommendation.
Rehab of
Yeah.
for home ownership housing. Wouldn't
Yeah.
that?
Rehab for homeownership, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds
Wouldn't
good.
that, so you got new construction or rehab,
Because all
both.
your Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and all your FHA and all that, all your loan programs are 1 to 4 family.
Yeah,
So,
do we even need the word blighted in there? You know, if, say, tenants to homeowners has an opportunity to purchase a couple of single-family homes and put
right.
them into
It doesn't
their
necessarily
program,
fit blighted.
They're not
gonna
blighted.
require that, oh, you can't do that unless it's just.
So can we say rehabilitation of property for home ownership housing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, I think I tried to do this last time and it didn't share. It did it.
Okay.
But my mouth. Okay, so rehabilitation of property for
Home
or
ownership,
affordable home ownership.
No,
Correct.
home ownership housing.
correct. Yeah,
That's correct?
perfect.
Okay.
Okay, that looks good.
Anything about so we're good on the wording of the rentals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a motion that needs to, or I guess anybody else have anything to say about that?
And if you've reviewed this and have no additional edits, and as we scroll through, if you don't catch something, are we ready to
Yeah.
motion to approve?
Leah, I have a question because there's so many attachments to this. Are we approving the whole suite of the NOFO? Okay.
You're prepared to.
I move to approve the 2027 NOFO. Period.
There's been a motion made by Mario and a second by Mark Bueller. I will take roll. It was Deanne. Monty Soka.
Aye.
Aye. Mark Bueller. Donovan Dillon is not here. Mario Fierro.
Aye.
Barry McMurphy.
Aye.
And Faith Lopez.
Aye.
Okay, and I, Christina Gentry, so that passes 7 ayes. Great job. And thank you for all the work that you did and all the work that
Thank
you
you.
continue to do on
Thank you
editing
all.
and making this to be really precise on what captures our understandings of how we can make the application process great.
For this
Wrangling
year.
this
Thank you
crowd.
for this year.
Yes, we have spent a lot of time on these
Yeah.
those discussions in the past. Thank you.
We sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For good reason. It's a very good inventory. All right. Moving right along, we're at number 4 of our agenda item under C, and that is to discuss the preliminary 2027 city budget potential service level reductions recommendation to shift personnel into the Housing Trust Fund. There are some included relevant materials that help support this discussion. This agenda item was added during a discussion and coming from discussions most recently in community that focus on the city budget, potentially using and reusing monies from the AHAB bucket and potentially service level into shifting the personnel. So with that, there might be some discussion here as well that we could have on this topic. I will note that the next meeting with the City Commission to review this will be in June. Is that correct? For the
Be a
city budget
timeline, yeah.
I believe so.
meeting. And so, this discussion is
So
timely.
silly.
And then also, I think it's good for us to maybe have some time to think about how we could either recommend or support a alternative or some different or maybe some additional ideas. that we could have for this discussion item. So I will leave it open to that, and maybe we could also influence a discussion of other ideas that we may have as it relates to the trust fund.
So I must be the only slow learner here. I don't know what does this mean? And what budget are we talking about?
So this is.
I did see the discussion at City Commission on the presentation, and I saw the blurb, but I don't know what that means.
So it seems like there's been a recommendation to right-size the budget and cut budget. And so one of the recommendations that was made by city staff to save on budget was to take particular personnel that are in the affordable housing space and utilize affordable housing trust funds to actually pay those personnel. So what that would do is take our trust fund and size it down.
Pay staff.
And pay staff, correct.
If that's what it means.
Yes.
Then it's, for me, it's the same reason that I didn't like funding an education program. I want these dollars to go to units in our community to help housing problems. And funding the staff through that tax, I think it's fraudulent. I really do. I'm still mad about a whole bunch of stuff. I'm mad about the last time we voted on it, which I supported, the additional tax. I don't think that was spent where actually people thought it was going to go. I really don't. So I'm double mad about that. So there.
And I mean, there are sentiments coming from the community that echo that sentiment. And so that's, I think, a good discussion for us to have. The community is talking about these and what can affordable housing trust fund dollars do, and understanding admin and the cost at which to keep some of these affordable housing projects continual, because they do also utilize some of the administrative support. So, yeah, I think it's very valid for you to have frustrations, and I think it's also valid to have those frustrations maybe lead to a deeper discussion on what could be a next possibility, some alternative.
I was at that city commission meeting and provided public comment. What I imagine the attempt was city staff was tasked with right-sizing a budget. And so they presented, I think, some pretty glaring options. I don't think that they were co-signing and saying this is the right path. I think they were saying, if you really want to make do on a campaign promise, here's what it takes. In my public comment, I stated, we are responsible. This is a sales tax. This is taxpayer dollars. This is not what the Affordable Housing Trust Fund was intended to do. We love the staff that help administer and support us, and we want to keep them. I don't think that we should be putting those two things in opposition to each other. My only solution to this would be to consider, we just approved the sales tax again. We are not getting a majority of that sales tax. It is labeled as an affordable housing sales tax, yes, yet we are only granted, I think, like 50% of that sales tax. So if this is something that they're seriously looking at, we should then get a bump in the percentage of the sales tax in order to be able to adequately fund staff and to continue to have our trust fund and not deplenish the trust fund. That is the only alternative that I can particularly see. But again, my preference would be let's not pin staff that we desperately need against, to Mark's point, units, and I'll add housing education that we desperately need in our community. Whether that's agreed upon or not is not the point. It's my opinion, but I don't think that this is the proper use of the sales tax, and it's not what community members voted for. So that would be my only alternative.
Yeah. So I'm going to show my age, but I was part of the social action group that got this measure on the ballot. And that is not what that group wanted. That they didn't, the housing position existed at the city already when that occurred. And this was to create a fund to put units on the ground. And I think since day one, I've been against funding housing vouchers even. I've been vocal on that because I think that's a position of Justice Matters that got this thing all rolling because we didn't have a trust fund. So I'm against it. I think the position was there before, or a very similar position, if not a housing specific position. There was a position that dealt with that. So I'm wholeheartedly against it. And I think the community would be not happy with that.
Yep.
Because it's not what they thought they were getting when they approved a tax themselves.
I don't disagree with the concept that there are administrative costs that go to managing these programs and getting the money on the ground and all this. The appropriate time to me as a taxpayer who voted for those measures,
Right.
or at least the second one. I don't think I was here for the first one. I expect it to go to housing. And the appropriate time would have been when that measure
On the
was
measure
proposed.
ballot.
Correct.
And up to 10, 15, 18%, whatever. Will go
To administer.
Will go to administrative
Right.
costs. And I would look at that and go, yeah, that's reasonable,
sense.
but that's not what was put out there.
Right.
I think if I could, just a point of clarification, the PowerPoint called this a potential reduction, not a, this is what we are suggesting get cut.
Right.
So
Right.
I just think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
an
yeah.
important point
Right.
to
Yeah,
keep in mind.
I hope that was reflected in my comment, that this was just
No, I-
in
Have it
answering.
in front of me, so.
Yeah, this is not what is happening, this is just a
The staff person
potential.
did a great job.
Yeah, she was great.
She's great. I don't know her, she's great. She's giving them ideas.
I want to leave space for
But
Faith,
this is a bad.
because Faith is online. Faith, do you have anything to say?
I mean, yeah, I definitely agree that that is not, I think a lot of people would be upset for many different reasons. So I guess that would bring some unity. But overall, yeah, it's a needed position, and it's helping social services also navigate the housing spaces to help our clients as well. So, I mean, both for affordable housing as well as for service providers and just community building, it is incredibly necessary. Just as we talked, for hours, there's a lot of acronyms, there's a lot of confusion within this space, and so any education, any sort of resources we can get, we would love to keep.
So I guess what action we would take would be to make a recommendation
Again,
against the potential reduction. Is that worth our?
These are nebulous questions that have been brought to our attention. We're making we're saying no. We're not being asked to solve the budgetary problems. It's not
No.
our job.
No.
I think they ought to read the tape, listen to what we said, and move on. I don't think we have to, because this isn't about defending her position. This is not that. The city's responsible to pay staff person for what we do.
Right.
How they do that is their duty. It's not ours.
We're
He
just
gets paid out of Public Works. Fine with me.
asking them not to utilize
Not
the
to
trust
utilize the
fund
trust fund.
because that's what was put in front of the budget. So I guess my question to your point is it worthy for us, knowing that between now and the next time they talk about this, we won't have another meeting, for us to say, make a statement as a body that we don't agree with that? We don't have to. I'm sure there's plenty of public outcry. I'm sure Justice Matter will say something. I'm sure I will be at that meeting and I will say something. But does it make sense for this body to say, hey, we would like to utilize our trust funds for what we believed it was intended for, and just say that.
Tell them what we think it was intended for, and then have to, I mean, come on, if you want to, yeah, I'll support it. I'm frustrated with these ideas that we're having to take stands on. This isn't how this works. You make a proposal, we vote for it, if you want us to. We're advisory.
Right, and opinion and public opinion and perspective do count for something. And I think if we say this, and then we make an honest statement.
The postman will give his, and the people that really listen to will give theirs, and they'll make the call.
So if I may, the reason I pulled this up is under the ordinance, under the specific duties of AHAB, advise the governing bodies on all matters related to the city's implementation and use of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Right.
So since this is a suggested use and implementation of the trust fund, if you all would like to advise the governing body, this is an opportunity to do so, and you certainly do not have to Mark's point. It is within their authority to make the decision with or without your recommendation.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, to your credit, I understand the positionality that we get to be thrown in, because this feels very politically charged of throwing something like this in there. And I will say, it was one slide in a series of really big conversations that a lot of other people had. My personal stance, because I do advocacy, would be to advocate for our trust funds. So I would make the recommendation that the board have a position on this, but I respect that.
Let's entertain a motion.
Go ahead.
Based on Leah pointing out as one of our duties is to recommend how the funds are to be used, I move that this board recommend that the trust funds not be used to fund personnel associated with supporting the program.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a first and a second. Thank you, Monty and Mariel. I will take roll and vote yea or nay when I call your name. Monty Sokop,
Aye.
Mark Bueller,
Aye.
Donovan Dillon still not with us, Mariel Fierro,
Aye.
Barry McMurphy, Faith Lopez. Faith Lopez. Okay, sorry. And I'm also an aye, Christina Gentry, so that passes with 7 of us agreeing to a recommendation to an idea, but also a very strong advocate position to place ourselves into our community. Thank you for entertaining that.
Just puts it on the
We'll
record.
catch it on the note.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not.
Put it on the record.
And if it's written.
I also think just for our numbers, it's 6-0 because we have 7 in the body, and we have 1 person missing.
I'm making my marks. I'm so sorry.
You're good. You're good.
Missing you
This is
out of
me
it.
and my brain being like, wait a minute, who's our ghost friend here?
Thank you for that entertainment and the motion and the motion and the vote and the vote. There we go. We are now down to our final, or one of our final items under the agenda, or under C, I'm sorry. Here we go. We are at number 5 to consider canceling July 9th, 2026 Affordable Housing Advisory Board meeting. And I'll, take the recommendation and maybe read that out loud, but staff recommends the canceling the advisory board meeting in July because there are no action items requiring the board for consideration. It falls under the AHAB's anticipated approval of the annual notice of funding opportunity in June and before August training session for reviewing and scoring funding applications. So if that is something that you all wanted to support, we've got an extra month to do some research and some really great things to bring back to the board in August.
I move to cancel the July 9th, 2026 AHAB meeting.
That motion
That was the fastest motion.
You can't say it, I say it.
Okay, we had a first and a second.
Sorry, I don't know how much voice I have left.
We got it. All right. Again, I'm going to call the roll and make it legal. Monty Sokop.
Aye.
Okay, Mark Bueller.
Aye.
Donovan Dillon's not here. Mary Fierro.
Hi.
Barry McMurphy.
Aye.
Faith Lopez.
super I.
Yeah.
Super.
I'm an I as well, so I'm going to
That's funny.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 yays. Great, July is a busy month and we can have some of that time back.
Madam Chair, I had something come up that I kind of need to leave for, and I apologize.
No worries,
for leaving over.
the project updates are next, but we'll fill you in.
Okay.
Have a great rest of your
Thank
evening.
Hope everything's okay.
Won't be in trouble with my daughter.
Uh-oh.
Good idea.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll see you next time. Okay, moving on to the project updates. This is an exciting time as we're talking about incentivization and we're talking about monies and finances. Let's talk about and review the Municipal Land Donation Research Project, which also talks about some of the opportunities for affordable housing.
Okay.
And for that, we've got Monty
And Barry.
and Barry to give us that update. Thank you both.
So Barry and I met 3 times, once, I think, at Zoom or phone call, and then twice in person. And we reviewed, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 different properties around town that the city owns. Really didn't look at county property, although I'm aware of a couple. And we basically boiled that down to 7 properties that we thought had viable, could support viable projects. I will say that we eliminated the really large properties because the city owns some large parcels. A lot of them have really high infrastructure costs, like maybe $20 million to get a sewer line somewhere or whatever. And we just eliminated those because they're not in the realm of possibility. Mm-hmm. So we just kind of took those out. Plus, this would be probably the first kind of project that we'd be trying to kind of do a P3 on, essentially. I mean, the equivalent of a P3. So, starting smaller, lower risk, 2 or 3 units, whatever, get one under our belt, show that we can do it. I mean, when the trust fund started, the first thing they did is they did one house, and they did it, it was a sample project, and that kind of just paved the way, and the next project was a little bigger, and here we are, right? So that was kind of the gist behind the analysis. So this isn't every property. It's pretty much I think the ones that are simpler to do. And Leah and I were talking before, and we already have one of them eliminated. So these, I think what I'd love to see out of this group is guidance on 2 or 3 of these to take a deeper dive on. This is just scratching the surface. This is us looking at maps, looking at kind of where utilities are and what kind of makes sense. If we, and I will say Jeff Crick helped with a couple things. I had a couple of questions for him. So thanks to him and the planning department. Didn't always get the answers I wanted, but we did get answers, and that's what's important. So let's just roll through these, and we'll kind of look at, and I'll just kind of briefly explain. This is the park. And I couldn't find a name for this park, but it's the park behind the new police station.
Oh, on the west side.
On the west side. So that's Wakarusa on the right of that. Eisenhower is the street on the left. And what we looked at was a small project here that would maybe put, it says probably in the thing, but 4 to 6 lots on Eisenhower that literally would face Eisenhower. I'm going to stand up here.
Get up
I can
there.
point at it.
I don't know how to make this bigger, so I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So,
I mean,
so basically, you would take 5 or 6 lots, basically continuing this pattern of development that's to the north, right here. And you just come down here and do a couple lots here, leave that entry to the park, do 3 or 4 more lots here, and leave this entry to the park. It is not dissimilar to the other areas around the park and the development of the entire area.
I like that.
And there are apartments on 6, is that like located, well, no, I'm thinking of the.
6 is way down here.
Yeah,
there,
6
and
down
that's
there.
Walker's. Okay.
Yeah, the police station's like right here.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's
there
the
we go.
roundabout, and then, okay, I know what you're talking
Right,
about.
now I see.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay, so that's one. I think that's
Most
maybe the
viable.
best. It's super simple. The utilities are all there.
Roads are
Very
there.
little, very little infrastructure
Yeah, I was gonna
costs.
say.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this is the one we eliminated. This is Peterson Park. It's kind of the south half of Peterson Park. And this could be developed in multiple ways. You could do a single cul-de-sac, you could do a loop through there. Hallmark gave that to the city as a park, and they deed restricted it for 50 years. We have 20 years before we can get off of that deed restriction. Leah informed me that the city made one attempt to talk to Hallmark, and they were not real interested.
Okay.
So that's probably off the table. So again, when you take a deeper dive in some of these, they're gonna go away. So anyway, let's go on to the next one. We won't spend a lot of time on that. Okay, this is an interesting one. We're gonna go down.
I'll go back.
Other way.
Go up.
Up.
I miss,
There you go.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so the city, in a recent settlement, it looks like the city is not done, is going to acquire the Riverfront Mall,
Yeah.
What happened?
which is a really interesting piece of property. Oh,
I'm sorry. There.
Interesting.
So Barry and I started looking at this, and actually Barry brought this up. You know, the city's gonna have probably a lot of proposals for this piece of ground. There's gonna be a million ideas for what to do with this. But I started looking at it, and I'm aware of a project over at KU Med where they had a parking garage, and they had a proposal from a developer that wanted to come in and build apartments on the side of the parking garage and literally have the units enter from the parking garage.
Oh,
You'd have like a parking space, and your door would be in the parking garage. And I've seen this in Wichita as well, on their riverfront area. So we have this existing garage that's 2 stories. You could probably, I didn't really look at that, but you could take that garage, and there's about between 40 and 50 feet between the garage and the railway easement that you could potentially put apartments on the backside of this garage on the south side of the railway.
Okay.
Just an interesting thought.
It's interesting.
Probably nobody's thought about looking at that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So anyway,
Okay.
be an interesting exploration.
Yeah.
Okay, this parcel is over by, this is Oak Hill Cemetery, and this is
Okay.
Mount Calvary Cemetery. This is owned by the city, so is the plot north of it, and so is this, and so is this, which is part of the cemetery. There's a little creek that runs through here, a drainage way. It's probably not a full-time creek. Anyway, this was platted real early for these Prospect, Prairie, and Summit to go on through here and create 3 more lots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 lots in there. Already platted. The utilities extend basically to the end of those streets. So you'd probably have to extend these streets, these 3 streets, block, and then realign 12th Street to actually align with 12th Street. This is really just kind of a dirt road back here. It's not actually a paved permanent road. So there'd be quite a bit of street work there, but it would also set you up for another project further north. And if you didn't even go over there, you know, you could leave that if that's planned to be part of the cemetery. We haven't had that conversation yet. But if they really bought this for the expansion of the cemetery, you know, you could leave
Yeah.
part of it. So it'd be an interesting conversation. But it's interesting that it was platted, I think, I didn't look at the date, but it was maybe in the 30s or 40s. It was a long time ago.
Okay.
So that would be an interesting one to study with planning.
Yeah.
So the next couple are similar in a sense that they are city parks that have housing all around them, and then there are open places where you could add, in this case, maybe 3 lots. So,
The housing authority looked at that area?
what's that?
I thought the housing authority had looked at that area, but I could be wrong.
I don't know, and I haven't pulled the plat or the deed on this to know if there's a restriction of some kind. But it looks to me like you could easily add like 3 lots right here, just like
Right there.
on East Glen. You could add maybe 3 more there and really not impact the activity in the park. I drove by this and there's really no, what I would call programming. There's
Right.
no, frisbee golf course.
Nobody's.
Football field or baseball field. There is a baseball field up here. Wouldn't be impacting that. And the main entrance to the park is over here, so you wouldn't even really have to get close to that. So
What is this? Is that the rec center?
that is a hard basketball court.
That's a basketball
A
court.
basketball court.
Oh, is that Brook Creek Park or what?
This is
Edgewood.
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 Edgewood Park. Oh, okay.
It's like, there's that basketball court. It's,
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah,
is
this
this
street line.
Edgewood housing right here? I'm trying to, no? Okay, I'm trying,
I don't know.
okay.
One bad thing about this is this and the last one as well. This is all on the east side where we have a lot of affordable
I really
housing.
love, I was gonna say, I
So we
really love
are
that west side one.
loading up, we're gonna recognize there's good. So, this is close to Brook Creek neighborhood. They've absorbed a lot of
Yeah.
affordable housing in
Yeah.
that, so maybe this isn't a good, Okay, go on to the next one. I think this one has quite a bit of potential. So this is, can you go up a little further? Okay, so this is Bicentennial School.
I'm so sorry. I don't know why it does that.
It doesn't want you to succeed.
It literally does not, okay?
And I'm drawing a blank for the name of that park.
One more. I think we just looked at this one.
Oh, thank you, sorry. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Prairie Park, this is Prairie Park.
Okay.
Really, the city owns this whole kind of wooded area through here. But you can see on Harper how the housing was developed literally backing up to the park on this side. You've got a parking lot here, but you've got a big space in there. And then you've got the nature center, which you obviously don't want to impact, but then you've got a nice space up here. You can also go along 27th Street for some distance, not the entire way, because you have driveways on 27th Street. It's not a collector, it's a neighborhood. I
Yeah.
can't remember the name. Is that right? Neighborhood street. Anyway, it's a street that you could put driveways on, curb.
Yeah.
So you could just literally do this kind of development. It would be consistent with what's already in the neighborhood, and you just infill those little spaces, and you don't really impact, I don't think, you.
Yeah.
Park. And you could also leave entrance to the park up here, the main sign for the parks up here on 27th and Harper. You just leave that corner open, so that becomes a public access point for the
Yeah.
neighborhood to the north.
Cool.
Wow,
This is great.
yeah.
So those are the,
Yay.
we've already eliminated one. Is there one more?
Nope, that was
That's
the,
it. So I would say what I'm most interested in is first this west side lot, the Eisenhower by the police station.
City did purchase that ground.
Yeah, especially since we already see roads there. The other one would be that by Oak Hill Cemetery where we already have some platting. I would caution against the Prairie Park one just because of the public perception around Prairie Park and wanting to really reserve that area as conservation. I think we would potentially get pushback on that, but I would say those two are, and of course it would be a cool conversation to talk to the housing authority to see if they've looked at that particular plot by Edgewood. And see if that's been entertained before. I think we were looking at, the housing authority in my time there, we were looking at a plot of land across the street on the other side of Haskell, but that didn't go through as a potential. So I would,
Tony owned.
yeah, Tony Krisnick owns that land. So yeah, those two in particular are very exciting to me with maybe a conversation around Edgewood. But thank you. This is great.
IDs, I say.
I would definitely, oh, sorry, Christine, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, I echo Marielle, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time. This is a great breakdown, and this is very helpful, especially to a first-time AHABer. I'll call myself.
AHABer.
So thank you very much. And if you guys need any more help with projects, I would love to just be able to learn from you all and be a part of that process and be a part of those conversations, because, yeah, this is very insightful, and I know it took a lot of work, so thank you very much.
All right, well, if you want to be on the subcommittee, we can certainly include.
There you go.
Not subcommittee.
It's not.
The work group, the secret meeting of friends.
It's not an official, it's a research.
So,
Okay, sorry, I'll have to,
There is a cap at the number of folks who can join,
right,
right?
3,
I think 3 is the number.
So you just made.
I think it's 3.
Yeah. I would say if we're ready to move on.
Yeah, you want us to dive into those 2?
I think so. Those are exciting to
Do
me.
some more research on those, meet with Jeff and
Yeah.
see what,
Yeah, thank you.
Open space too, and the access to the parks.
Yeah, it was
Really good
very
part.
thoughtful.
Thoughtful way to look at affordable housing. Yeah, thank you.
And the west side one is, I mean, it's a Free State High School.
Yeah.
Walmart and Dillon's.
We need so much more. We need so much more affordable housing development over there. So that one is like my gold star. I would say for our group, Donovan, who is not here with us today, and me, who sounds like this, we have not had a chance to update, but hopefully we canceled the July meeting. So the June meeting is our intention of getting you all update on some potential funding streams. So that's all I've got.
Great project updates and all the work that you put into that overtime outside of the hourly things that we do. I really appreciate that. It's a really great spot. And this, like the pictures too, just add an element.
I
really
know, it's so
appreciate it.
professional. It's almost like he does this every day.
I spend a lot of time nodding and going, oh, that's really cool. This is great.
I love that.
Excellent. Okay, so we are making great time, and we're about to roll on into the end of our meeting. Our next thing to consider is a calendar. I'll let you read that through and apply those dates as they make sense to. But our next meeting will be June 11th at 5:30. We'll meet then. Okay, and so, I'm sorry.
Public comment time.
Yes, and now we are at public comment. We are definitely at the time and the place where
Unless we're going to extend this meeting.
no, we are not. Public comment is open. Are there any public comments in the room?
Well, I'm here, so I might as well.
Go for it.
Hi, AHABers, right?
I guess now.
I'm New HOD Captain. Some of you might be familiar with me already. Some of you maybe not. My family's been in Lawrence since 2001. They've owned numerous businesses in downtown Lawrence and around town. I've recently relocated here from Southern California. Since I've been visiting Lawrence pretty much all my life since I was a teenager, I finally have found a home in Lawrence and plan to set roots here. One thing I didn't really mean to talk today or have a public comment. I wanted to be informed because a lot of people here in this community are looking to me to be kind of a conduit and the supplier of information. As you may know, I'm involved in the movement to stop the development at 711 New Hampshire. And I wanted to just put this in your head because some articles and press releases since 2023 and another article in 2024, and here we are, 2026. This project won the 4% LIHTC funding through the KHRC. Nobody in the community knew about this. I went canvassing all across downtown Lawrence to business owners, stakeholders. They were unaware. So what I'm finding is that a lot of these conversations are maybe not intentionally being held without the public knowledge, but being business owners, they don't have a lot of time to watch these agenda meetings. They don't have a lot of time to go to the commission meetings. And what I'm finding is going door to door, people have no idea what's going on. When you say 711 New Hampshire, I want it to just stick in your head. that 711 New Hampshire is an address, but for a lot of people, that's a crucial access point. That's a community asset that's been serving downtown, serving our sales tax, serving the elderly, serving people with access issues, serving families, serving business owners, community members, employees, birds, trees, the vibrancy, the openness of what makes downtown downtown. So when you say 711 New Hampshire in this meeting, I want you to maybe preface it with free lot 2 or this critical access point, or the free lot between Java Break and Leroy's. Because 711 New Hampshire to developers is just an address, and they're going to try to use every loophole they can to build. But I just want to make sure that y'all know who I am. Everyone asks me what I'm doing, why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I feel like it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's it. Nice to meet y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your comments. Any other additional comments in the room? I see none. Well, let's go online. Are there any comments or any public comment online? Okay. Also hearing none. That brings us to the end of our discussion. Thank you very much. We will adjourn until next time. We'll see you in August.
Good job, team.
June.
August. Let's just skip the summer. Who cares?